Alright everybody, welcome to another episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. As always, my name is John, but sitting across from me today is not Dean. Dean is unfortunately on vacation this week, so we are very glad to have our friend from our local leagues, Marissa.
Hello everyone.
So, the title, if you saw the title for this podcast, is going to be the Rogue Poke-Parent. And the reason that we're doing that is because Marissa, like so many other people in our community, is what we like to call a Poke-Parent. So Marissa, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you think a Poke-Parent is?
All right. Hi, I'm Marissa. I have a 13-year-old who plays Pokemon. What a Poke-Parent is? It's a parent that does everything for their child that's related to Pokemon. So, buying the decks, buying the cards, buying booster boxes, buying cases of booster boxes sometimes, ETBs. It started out with collecting cards and just seeing all the collections he was having, all these high price cards that people are like, oh my God, got this great card. And it's like, no, we're not doing that. Because it was going to his head. And so I was like, well, you're going to learn how to play the game. So, and it's just being for your kids. I have a group of people that I Poke-Parents with, and we help each other out with each other's kids when we go to these events. Sometimes I take them so that they don't have to go, and sometimes they take my kid for me, so financially it's not. But when we're at big events like regionals and stuff like that, if I'm not playing in the regionals, I'm there pretty much wrangling the kids that are playing and trying to keep them together, making sure they get their lunch, making sure they know where they're supposed to be at, because we have juniors, seniors, and then we have kids that play the VGC.
Right.
So we're kind of like all over, and we try to keep tabs on the kids, because if not, they'll just go wild. We're not trying to do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So, the nice thing is that you said being a Poke-Parent is about being there for your son, and your son, I know you said that you got it to be, all right, if you're going to collect, you're going to play. Mm-hmm. Your son has become a great player. He's qualified for Worlds, twice now?
Yes,
that's
twice now.
Awesome. What has that adventure been like?
Oh, so once we got him started playing, I'm like, hey, you're gonna do this, you're gonna play it. The reason why I got him into playing was he was struggling with reading and math. So I felt that playing Pokemon, it was helping him with his reading, because he has to read the cards. With the math part, he had to learn how to do the math, adding, subtracting, timesing, and then the critical thinking part of it, which is great because now you got to strategize. So with him starting, he really got into it, and his whole thing was like, he wanted to go to regionals, and the first regional we did was Orlando, and I'm like, all right, Lucas, we're gonna do this. It's your first regional. We'll see how it goes, and we did it. He played Lugia. That was his deck. A lot of people try to convince him not to play certain cards, because in his Lugia deck, he had Crushing Hammers. And people are like, no Crushing Hammers. Like, why you have this card in there? It's not useful. He had Jock in there. And people are like, why do you have Jock? I was like, hey, it's his spice to the game, and people, a lot of adults that were mentoring, they're like, I don't know what's wrong with your kid. Why is he but I'm like, it works for him.
Right.
So his first regional, he was so excited. He was about to be in top 8. So for us being our first regional, we didn't really know the process of it.
Right.
We didn't know about IDing. And the judges at that time and with the kids were like, oh, you got ID because he was at the top tables. Mm-hmm. And that was not the case, because there was like 12 other kids behind him with the same record.
Right.
So he bubbled out of top 8. So that was so hard for him. But ahead of time, like for you starting for your first regional to get in that top 16, that's great. You got points. And from there, kind of like just we went through, because we started at that season half halfway through the season.
Right.
And we took off with it. And and he made enough points for Worlds. So we went to Japan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was fun.
Now, you said that you got Lucas into it because he was working on math and working on stuff. But through this process, when I first started coming out to Coliseum, you were playing in the tournaments too.
Yes.
So
yeah, I felt, playing with it, playing in the tournaments at the local leagues, it's just something that was a bonding for me and my son. I feel like if I'm spending all this money on buying these cards, I want to play too. It seems fun. I got to meet other adults, other parents, built some great friendships that way. It was fun, and definitely if you're going to a regional, you want to play. Because for me, I don't want to sit there for 8 hours and not do nothing. So I play. I'm not great at it. I try my best.
I wouldn't say that. You've won a couple of challenges.
Yeah, challenges, yeah. But I think with the regional, it's so... For me, I psych myself out.
Right.
If I'm starting in the back tables, like 900s, I'm good. What gets me is when you win. If you win that first match, you kind of get thrown all the way to the front tables, and that just throws me off because I'm just like, I get nervous,
right?
And so I don't play so well. So I have to work on that. But Lucas, he does great. He strives in that.
Now, since you both play, obviously Lucas more competitively, but we would say probably semi-competitively. Yeah. Do you guys play test together? Do you guys play the same kind of decks?
We do not play the same kind of decks.
Okay.
He does not like me playing the same deck as him. So when I buy cards, I have to buy decks that he wants to play. Then I have to buy the decks I want to play the cards. So sometimes it gets very competitive with him trying to go, no, I'm playing this one. No, no, I picked it. So we don't play the same thing. We do play test at home. We don't play test a lot because we play Pokemon on Thursdays, we play Pokemon on Fridays, and we play Pokemon on Sundays, and every now and then we'll play Pokemon on a Monday and a Tuesday. So it's a lot. So I don't want to burn him out.
Which makes sense.
And stuff, because you can get burnt out. I do see some parents that kind of go a little over the top with it. For me, it's a game.
Right.
It's like a sport. It's his sport, and I'm not gonna be one of those parents that are like, hey, you gotta do it, gotta play test, play test, because it's not gonna make it fun no more. And I don't want it to not be fun for him.
Right.
If he wants to play test, he play tests. He knows what he needs to do. If he wants to get top 8, top 16, what I like about his attitude is he doesn't go to these regionals and going, I'm getting number 1. I'm getting top. I'm making... I try to teach him to be realistic on what's the process. If you get top 16, great. If that's your goal to get in the top 32 all the time, set that goal. Then if you get anything above that, that's great. I don't ever want him going into a region and going, I'm getting this, I'm getting top 4, and it doesn't happen, and his dreams are crushed.
Right.
Orlando taught us that the first time, so, and it took us a process to learn the whole strategy of this.
Right.
Of being a parent. Trying to understand the point process, trying to understand your opponent's win percentages. It was like, when do you ID? When do you don't ID? It was a process of learning, like, oh, no, you can't do this. You got to keep playing. Yeah. And just learning all that, and then going through the whole process for the year of trying to figure, like, oh, wait, we got to hit another regional. Oh, we got to hit another challenge. So it's fun. I like it. It gets good, but it's very challenging.
I can understand that. Now, you said that you have found a group of other Poke parents to kind of be able to, quote-unquote, chaperone each other's children. How did that come about? Did you guys just all of a sudden meet? Was there a group that you joined? How did that kind of get started?
It got started with us going to our one locals that we go play at here in Tampa. Originally, we were going to one group, one place, and they shut down, and we went to another place which at first I really didn't like because it was more adults,
Okay.
and the adults don't like getting beat by children. So
We see that.
yeah, so at first I was like, I'm not coming here. I don't like it. But then after a while, the other people that went to the other place started showing up. So that's how we got to know, just getting talking to them. It wasn't like a straight up like, hey, we're pairing. It took me time to get to know them, talk to them, and try to get them to help with, because I'm like, I'm new, I don't know anything about this, and
Right.
helping them show me decks, how to build decks, what am I looking for, and stuff like that. Not so much with pokey parents. I have a lot of friends that are just not parents in their play. They're the ones that really started helping us out, getting us, and then getting us involved with other people.
Okay.
So that's how we got our little Pokemon group. And then once we got our little niche group, it kind of stays that way. So when we go places, we're like, hey, Airbnb,
Right.
Try to split the costs on hotel saving. Anywhere we could save.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do. We've driven to regionals. And then it's like I said, like with parents, if I have a parent whose kid's trying to play, but he wants to play, but he can't because his kid's playing, I'll be like, hey, go ahead, I got him,
Right.
and I'll watch him. So, and then we have some that have younger kids that don't play, and they got to come out to regionals, so that's how we still like try to help
Right.
each other out, like, yo, you can go play this one.
Right.
And I'm going to go play side events, so.
That makes sense. Now, some of our listeners have kids that are starting to get into the game themselves. How would you recommend somebody who, as a parent, maybe isn't playing the game as much, but doesn't know a lot, doesn't know how to get into understanding everything that you now understand, finding a group of other parents, how would you recommend that they go about doing? Hey, all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to our sponsor, For Honor and Glory. They are a great support to us and have all the things you need related to Pokemon, Magic, D&D, Warhammer, and more. You can go on over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's forhonorandglory.com and discount code ROGUE24 for 10% off your entire online order. All right, let's get back to talking about those sneaky decks.
I would say research online, see what your locals, if there's local groups that for Pokemon. That's what we did. That's what I did. I look kind of when we went to actually how we found our one place at Coliseum Comics. We just went there because my husband was trying to get a comic book, and we're like, oh, and we talked to Glenn, who runs the Pokemon events there, and it was just like, oh, you do this? He was like, yeah, come out. And he's like, does your son have cards? I'm like, yeah, he has cards. We have binders. I don't know what's the point, And we would go there, and like he would bring his binders, and his binders, I mean, were all like GXs, gold cards, EXs, V stars, Vs, everything. And people were just like, oh my God, what? I never knew you had to sleeve cards. I'm like, people were like, why do you have this? Sleeve this. I'm like, okay, why? And, then they'd show me like the TCG app, and they're like, this is why you sleeve that card. I'm like, oh. Okay.
So for those that don't know, TCG Player is a website that pretty much for any card game, you can go online, put in the card name, and you'll find people that are selling it, but it'll also give you a median price of what that card is worth. So finding out, oh, I've got this card, and someone says that's a great card, all you got to do, I think they now actually have an app too that you can just plug in the card and be able to find out what that card is actually going for. So that's how a lot of people not only sell cards, but they also will do, because a lot of stores don't like you selling and trading cash inside the store. They'll have you, but they're perfectly fine with you doing trades. So that way you can evaluate what the card value is and be able to make fair trades.
Yes. And I had to watch that with adults, with my son, with his binder at the beginning.
Right.
Because not say all adults are swindlers to kids, because some kids are just like, hey, I like this card, I want this card. What card do you want? And it's kind of like, oh, hold on, we got to look it up. You can't just trade no more. So that was like a process we had to learn.
Right.
Of like understanding the value of the cards that he has. When we started, we were doing master collections. Yeah. That
audible eye roll for those who didn't catch that.
Master collections. That's a process because I was spending. You're talking about booster boxes. I was buying not even two. I was probably buying like 6 booster boxes, probably 10 ETBs, singles, just so I could get that master collection.
Right.
And then it got to a point where we have maybe like six of them, 6 master collections. And I'm like, dude, once Scarlet and Violet came out, I was like, all right, we got to figure this out. Are we doing master collections or are we just buying cards to get our decks? He was like, just get the cards to get our decks. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, because, it's like some of these decks, series, they have cards that are like $300.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, I want to play. No,
you're not playing with that card.
Going in the binder. So, especially when we're doing master collections. I'm like, nope. I was like, if we get more than one, you could play it. You can have that one. I don't care. But if we got one,
No,
so.
I completely get that too, because Dean and I were talking about it a couple episodes ago. We both played other card games, and I recently got into another card game and got right out of it because there were the decks themselves, because how much these cards were going for, were over $500 just to build a deck.
Oh yeah,
oh,
believe me, I
love that card game, love the property of it, but just can't spend that kind of money.
Yeah, exactly. It's you don't realize how much you spend on something until you go in your house and you're like, okay, I got a clean house.
Yep.
Because I have Pokemon cards on my dining room table. I have it on my kitchen table. I have it in my bedroom lined up on the wall. I have it under a shelf. I have a closet that's all Pokemon stuff. So it's kind of like, ugh. So we did get into the Pokemon Center ETBs.
Okay.
So I have a collection of those. So anytime the Pokemon Center puts out the new ETBs for pre-sale, I buy 4. I open up 3. 1 gets put away.
Right. That makes sense.
We have quite a collection of there. So it's kind of like I spend a lot of money on stuff that I don't open. And it's like, ugh, I want to open it, but I'm like, no, because
20 years from now when you go. Because I know that our friends Joe and Jose and I they did the reselling of the original energies and stuff. We each bought a set of those original energies, and it was $20 just for of a full set of, and it ended at Psychic. It didn't even go through all the other new types. $20 just for 10 energies each. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. My son likes. I want to say, it's Pearl or Black and White energies, because it has and he plays a water deck. I'm not gonna give the name. So. But the water energies have Lugia in the background. So those, are very expensive. One card shop that we go to, they have them, but they have it's the Pokemon Play ones.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not spending $50 on lightly used, or And we have a good friend that we play Pokemon with. Really good guy. So we went to Brazil to play in the LAIC one. And he was like, hey, Lucas, you want to bling out your deck? And Lucas was like, what do you mean? And he started letting him borrow his Lugia cards with all that, and then all the other stuff. And I'm like, Lucas, don't ruffle shuffle, don't bend, because those cards are like $50 and a piece. And I'm just like, I'm like, are you sure you want to let him borrow it? He's okay. He's like, no, he got it. He's fine. So, I mean, that's what is great about our group.
Right.
We let people borrow cards.
Oh, yeah.
I give cards away. I don't care for me, because I buy so much of it, especially if it's not the really like demanding high cards.
Right.
Like this set, everyone's asking for Dragon Pulse. I'm like, no. You know, you want a Dragon Pulse? We're gonna trade for that.
Right. Right.
But if it's like the Drapies or the Dragon, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I have plenty.
Right.
Go ahead. I do try to help out people that do come into it, like are starting.
Right.
If I have extras, I'm like, here, take what you need.
Right.
And stuff like that. But other cards, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Right. And that's what I've found as a very nice thing in the COC community is that we do tend to do that, especially with new players. Everybody's like, if you're not playing and play testing against somebody, you're normally like, hey, you're brand new, do you want to play?
Yeah.
And I mean, even I know the last challenge that we played in, you and I both ended up next to each other, and we're playing brand new people, and both of us after the end of the games were like, hey, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Why did you not do that? And we were talking to them about this is how you can get better, and that's what I love about our community. And I wouldn't say just COC. I think as a whole, a lot of Tampa Bay is that way.
Yeah, a lot of it is like that. I know when we go to a lot of challenges or cups, like I said, some adults do not like getting beat by children, especially if you go to events where if you go to a cup and they don't have enough seniors or enough juniors, they have to play again they're mixed with the adults to play in. So Lucas likes it because when he beats the adults, it's kind of like stroking his ego.
Right.
The adults don't like it that much. You know, I have plenty of adults come to me like, I don't like your child. And I'm like, hey, I help you, you know.
He's just a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. We have, at our other location we go to, we have such a great camaraderie going around. They know my son. My son is, if you ever get to meet him, he's very talkative. He's very smart Alex sometimes. You know, but people know him. And if he's being smarty with you, kind of like joking, teasing, picking, it's because he likes you.
Right.
If he don't know you, he's not going to be talking to you. He's not going to be, not say disrespectful, but he just won't really interact. He'll be very polite and proper, but if he knows you, he's calling you out. He don't care. He's calling you out, and that's what the group we have, and they all know him. So, and they have his back when we're at regionals. They're making sure that no one's messing with them, especially, like I said, when kids are playing other adults, even when we're at other locations, you know, when they're playing, you know, and we're playing adults that we never been to and don't see, and they get, and it's like, they're like, yo, you're not, don't be like that with him. You're not being disrespectful. Because they don't want the kids to feel, oh, I can't play this no more, you know, upset about it. So we have that. I know, like, this past year, playing for that last couple of challenges, we were at one, and, you know, Lucas was playing an adult, and everybody's trying to get the last bit of points. Right. You know, and I'm like, Lucas, just give him the points. You don't need your points. You made your world invite. You don't need these points. And he was like, all right. But we had a friend that was like, no, I need Lucas to play because he was trying to get his points, but he knew that guy. And he's like, and Lucas was like, no, I'm just going to ID with him because I don't need it. Right. But he was like, the guy needed it. And the guy kind of made a little smart comment to Lucas, and Lucas was gonna give him the points, but the guy said something kind of thing, and Lucas was like, all right, now we're playing. And the guy lost, and the guy was kind of upset because he lost to a senior. He needed his points, and this was the last cup that he could get him. He was upset about it, and people were like, I don't like your child. I'm like, oh, you know, I mean, my child's very friendly. As long as you talk to him and be polite, he'll give you the points. Like, cause he'll know, but he'll be like, "We'll just play just to play." Yeah. We helped out a couple of our friends like that. I'm like, Lucas, you know, he needs it. Just give him the win. And I have people going like, "Why did he play like that?" You know, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "He was playing like offhand, like not like himself." I was like, "Did you win?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, there you go. Yeah. You know, he was like,
but that's also how do I word this? People don't understand that that's also a good way for you to learn how to judge how other people are playing as well, is to not play at your best. I mean, we did a professor's seminar
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago where our goal, we each were given a misplay basically to do,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was trying to catch what our misplay was. And it taught me how to think about the game in different ways, because you're not used to trying to do that. You're used to trying to not misplay.
Yeah.
So playing in a different way of like, hey, I'm going to still play, I'm still going to challenge them, but how can I play in a way that isn't necessarily going to automatically give me the win or is my best, is also a good experience for him, because then when he gets to those points where you've been playing 9 rounds in a day, you're going to hit that fatigue, you're going to hit that, and that's where you start making, and it's like, oh, I've done this purposefully now.
Yeah.
So it's also a good training tool for him too, which I don't think he's probably picked up on.
No, you know, if we tell him like, hey, you know, give him a win, he'll just play like, okay, whatever. He does understand, like, when we do play tests, we have like other parents that we play tests with, and they'll be like, all right, we're playing open hand.
Yeah.
And well, it's like open hand is basically you have your hand out to see, and they're like, all right, Lucas, what are you doing? Tell me what's your steps, what's your process. And he'll go through the number like a why. And Lucas will be like, I have my reason, you know? And they'll be like, but why? And
explain your
reason. And Lucas, he gets to the point where sometimes he can't explain it, but it works. And then like, oh, okay, I see what you did. And it's just like, you know, and that's great. I do the same thing. I'm learning how to play still, try to get a little bit more skillful at it. I would say I've gotten better at where I do misplay, and I'm like, I shouldn't have done that yet. I should have did this. And that's great, because that means I'm learning. And how I learned to be more proficient with it, it was having that open hand and them walking me through like, all right, what are you doing? And they're like, nope, don't do that. But no, okay. All right, what am I supposed to do?
And that's what we do too, is anytime a new set comes out, especially Dean and I, will play open-handed, so that way it's, hey, what is your thought process with this, especially with new mechanics that come out, because you're still learning how those go, and you may think, oh, this new mechanic is great, I want to utilize it right now, and then you get 6 steps down the line and you're like, oh, now would have been a better time to use that. So that is definitely a good tool that I think.
I like how they come up with new concepts and different things always changing. What I don't like is them releasing new sets right before a regional.
Like, or regionals or worlds.
Yeah, it's like, stop. I don't have time to learn how to play this, you know. But I love just how the Pokemon organization is. It's great. It's fun. It's, like I said, it's a tool to, if kids want to play, if parents are trying to struggle with their kids with reading, math, this is something that you could do with them that's going to help them. I mean, it works. It worked for my child, so I'm sure it could work for others.
Yeah. So last kind of question that I'm going to have regarding Lucas here. We all saw last week, unfortunately, the world's invite structure has completely changed. How are you guys taking that, considering that you guys jumped right into this and he took off with it and he's qualified for Worlds twice?
Yeah. Right now, I'm not too stressed about it because we do a lot.
Right.
I do a lot for him because he likes it, and I want to keep him. As long as he keeps playing, we'll keep going. I don't know. I'm not too concerned right now. I just do know that I'm gonna have to be paying a lot more attention to the leaderboard now, because since it's the top 100, that's what we're gonna have to be focused on. I'm not so concerned because like he was top 30 this time, so I'm like, if they have the new setup for this regional, I'm like, okay, he's fine, you know. It's going to be interesting to see, though. I see how they shorten cups and they shorten challenges, and then they combine the specials now, part of the regionals, which is kind of okay. So to me, that's saying if you win a special event, you should get the points and the invite.
You automatically get the invite.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. But other than that, I don't know. I'm more scared for the adults, I think, because there's more adults than children.
Yeah.
You know, especially I think there's more juniors and there's more adults, because there's not that many like seniors. It seems like.
It's also, I think, the senior age range being only, I think, 3 years, because I think it's 13 to 16.
No, it's 12.
12 to 16. So 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then below that is 7 and above.
Yeah.
So you get that weird transition where they're going into middle school, they're going into high school, they're starting to try and figure out who they are. So, and you get a lot of those, oh, you play Pokemon? Like, I can understand that. I had a lot of that growing up as a kid too. So, but I think that the thing is with him is we've seen a lot of people that have been going from that seniors to the adult and making that transition and doing well. Yeah. So I don't think we have that much of an issue with him coming forward.
I think either once they get to that senior age and that transition over, either they're gonna continue with it because they like it still, or they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna take some time off because it is a lot more competitive in that adult part, masters. In that aspect, I know like when Lucas played for his first year, he was a junior, which we're like, oh, okay, you only get to be a junior one time. You're not even gonna really get to have this process fully under your belt to be jumping to a senior next year for the second time. And for him, I mean, he's done well. Yeah. I mean, he's done well. He caught on quick. I like that he sticks to what he likes. He does what he wants. He takes people's advice, but if he wants to do it, this is what he wants to do. This is what he wants in his deck. You're not gonna take him out of it because he's winning. I mean, that's like my only thing that I have with him is that he needs to be a little bit more open-minded to people's suggestions and stuff. But other than that, I think with this new process, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting year coming up to see how it's going to reflect on. Do we chase points? Do we chase cups? Do we chase challenges?
Or do you focus on the regionals and special
Do you focus
events?
on the regionals? And I think that's the hard part because right now they only released the regionals up until the end of December.
Year. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, all right, we're already set up for Baltimore. I mean, we're not even registered for Baltimore yet, but we already got our plane tickets for Baltimore. So we know we're going to Baltimore.
Right.
So it's like, I know we're going to go to Baltimore. I know we're going to try to do Kentucky and Louisville. So there's a couple of those. But it's like, do we want to chase all of the regionals?
Right.
And I think that's the part that's like, do we want to keep doing that? I think if we were in top 16, I would definitely do that because of the stipends you would get. But if we're not nowhere near top 16, I don't think I'm going to be chasing like how we were chasing this year. Because this year was like, for juniors, it was only like 350 points that they had to get last time. This year was 450 points, so it was like, oh, we got to really. Yeah. But we had it by the beginning of the second quarter. So we had his points. So it was like, hey, it's very fun competition with his friends because we're always like, nope, you're not going to win this one, But
it's friendly competition, and that's good for somebody his age to.
But I think with the new setup coming up,
it
might change that because now, if I want to stay where I'm at in that top 100, I'm gonna keep playing so that you can't surpass me. Right. Especially if I think it more so if you're at that bottom, like in the 90s or 80s, because that can make a big difference. That's where you're really gonna be struggling to stay above that. So it's gonna be quite interesting. So I do know coming up with this coming year, some of the top seniors, they're moving up. So that's good. But then we got some of the good juniors that are moving up. So, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to get the mids seniors are going to have a little bit more chance to shine as opposed to, staying behind kind of low. Yeah. So, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Pokemon's great. You can't go wrong.
All right. So my last question for you before we head into your rogue deck of the week is going to be, what's been your favorite experience with Pokemon and Lucas?
Oh, going to the regionals. I think the traveling. That's the best part. It's me and him. Right. It's a mom and son thing. bonding time that we get that we share. My other children are kind of upset with me with that because they couldn't play that, they couldn't have that growing up because I was in the military. I'm not in the military now, so I have that freedom to go, hey, let's do this. But going to the regionals, we got to go great places. We got to go to Brazil, which was great playing.
Right. Got to go to Japan.
We went to Japan. We did that. We got to go. So like this past year, we went to Puerto Rico. We done Puerto Rico twice for specials. He got to go to Mexico to play on a special. So I mean, the traveling is it's great about it. I think, like I said, camaraderie, building those friendships. He has friends that live in South Carolina, Virginia, that it's like they meet up. It's like they haven't, you don't see them all the time,
right?
But they act like they've been together forever.
Right.
And it's great. I love that because he can have friends all over the world now. And it's that common bond, that just common friendship that they have. And I get to meet these parents too, so it builds that nice friendship bonds with them as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you get to have that with him.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. So as always, we have our rogue deck of the week, and this week Dean and I asked Marissa to bring her own spicy deck, so that way we can see what she's cooking over there on her deck lists.
Yeah, I have lots of spicy decks. Let me see. I have that one. I'm trying to figure. I have a lot of rhyming ones.
Remember, there was one that you won a challenge with.
Yeah.
And I think it was one that had Roaring Moon and Baby.
Yeah, I had the Roaring Moon, the Baby Moon. Let me find it. Yeah, it was the Roaring Moon, the baby one for Temporal Force.
Okay.
The Roaring Moon EX. Then I. Oh, okay, so how do you want it? You want how quantities? So I have 4 baby Roaring Moons.
Well, what are your main attackers in it, and what's the point? What's the point of that deck?
So my main attackers are the baby Roaring Moons.
Okay.
And with that is that you have to get all these ancient cards
right
in the discard pile, which can be fun and nerve-wracking at times because
you're gonna Pokestop and pray a lot.
You're gonna Pokestop and pray. That's what I say when I Pokestop. I say Pokestop and pray.
I think everybody at Coliseum has started saying that now because you started saying that.
Because it's really sad when you get rid of those supporters and cards you need. You're like, no. But with this throw deck, it was more of playing with Roaring Moon, Baby Moons, and then playing with the Roaring Moon EXs. And I have Dunsparces in there to help me.
That's your draw engine, okay.
My draw engine, yes. Radiant Greninja in there to get those energies out in the discard pile. And Iron Bundle, which I didn't really understand the Iron Bundle for a while because I'm like, what is his purpose? Like, what? But then it's like, oh, I see what he does. You could like make them swap their your opponent's active Pokemon.
Yep.
And he gets to go back in his deck.
So,
cool.
So for those that don't know, with Iron Bundle, it is a future Pokemon that, as long as it's on the bench, it has an ability that you're going to have to discard it. But it doesn't count as a knockout. You're just discarding it, so that way you can force your opponent with, it's called Hyper Blower, that you're going to cause them to have to send their active Pokemon to the bench, and then they get to choose which one that they want to bring up. So if they've got a whole bunch of supporter Pokemon that they don't want to get knocked out, you're forcing that to come up, and that can change the whole entire game.
Yes, it can. And it took me a while to realize that. One thing I would say, read the cards. read. Because sometimes you might read something and you're reading it wrong.
Right.
And sometimes it makes the whole difference on how you play that card. Because if you don't read correctly, you can misplay, and they're just, and people, and I'll be straight up. If I know what that card does and you play it wrong, I ain't saying nothing. I'm gonna wait till after.
As long as it helps you, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until the very end of the match to go like, hey, did you read your card right? Did you know what it's supposed to do?
We learned that in the Chaos Cup a couple times.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. But with this deck, you have to get a lot of ancient cards. So if it's an ancient supporter, ancient tool card, or item card in your discard pile, And so with the baby moon, and he needs 2 energies on him to do his attack. So it's, I think he does like 20, no,
It's 70 plus 10.
plus 10 for each ancient card
Yep.
in the discard pile. Now, I would say, with that being said, it gets scary because you can deck yourself out in the whole process. And sometimes you have to be able to be smart enough to know, oh, I need to put those Professor Sadas back into my deck. But then you're like taking ancient cards away from my deck, from my attacking. But that's why you have that Roaring Moon EX.
Yep.
You know, so you make sure that you could just use him to attack if need be. And he should be a late attacker, not a beginning attacker. But
that's fine because it's a 2-prizer. So
yeah, it's a 2-prizer.
Whereas the baby moon is only 1, so you get a little bit away with having that trade-off of prizes there.
Yeah, and I always play, and it's funny because I always have Radiant Greninja in my decks, so I always play Water Energy.
I think everybody's gonna has Radiant Greninja. It's gonna be a sad day next year when that rotates.
Right, but I think a lot of people, when they have the Radiant Greninja just as a draw support and to get rid of cards. I have him in there, but I always have Water Energy in my deck because I'm using him to attack if I have to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's all you got.
Yep.
That's all you got, and if you don't have that Water Energy, and that's the only Pokemon, you're just kind of like a sitting duck.
Yep.
In the process. So I like to make sure, and people always like, why do you have water? I was like, because I use it to attack if I need to. But what? Because
it's my safety blanket, okay?
It's my spice to my deck. So I always play decks differently than what people will assume. To be like, why do you have? Because I can.
Because I can and I want to.
I want to. Yeah, exactly. I want to. That's what I'm gonna do. And I learned that from my son. Like we're gonna play what we're gonna play.
There you go.
And go from there.
Been doing you guys great so far?
It's doing him great so far. Me, not so much.
Hey, you've won a couple challenges, so.
Yeah, I wish they would bring back the Eternatus VMAX. That was my deck. That's the deck I played for once I started learning. That was the deck. It was a dark deck. I loved it. It worked great. And then when it went bye-bye, it just kind of went downhill for me. Picking a deck because I can't find none. And I keep trying to go to dark and poison. Yeah. And it just not working.
The next set that comes out, that Okie Dokie.
Yes, I've seen it. I got the proxies for it. So I'm going to work that one, see how it goes. But yeah, I like it. It's fun.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming on, and everybody else, keep having fun playing your sneaky decks through the seasons.
Oh, yes.
Bye for now. Hey, all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor and one of our home leagues at For Honor and Glory. They have all you need for your card game and tabletop RPG needs. Some upcoming events that they have with the Pokemon League are for your Pokemon Go challenges and cups. Your challenges are going to be August 13th and September 1st, and they're also doing their quarterly League Cup on September 1st as well. For the card game, we're going to have League challenges on July 16th, August 20th, and September 17th, and then your quarterly League Cup is going to be July 28th. And for pre-releases for Stellar Crown, we're going to have pre-releases on September 1st, September 3rd, September 7th, and September 8th. Also, wanted to remind you that you can go to forhonorandglory.com and use our discount code ROGUE24. That's forhonorandglory.com and discount code ROGUE24 for 10% off your entire online order. All right, everyone, have fun playing your sneaky decks through the seasons.